I've always felt that life's less about the cards you're dealt and more about how you play them, and that's why those words, "Do what you can with what you have, where you are," struck me like a bolt of lightning the first time they crossed my path. They're plain as day, yet they carry a fire that's lit up every corner of my life, from the scrappy kid I was to the dreamer I've become. And I'm here to tell you, they can do the same for you. There's a raw, honest power in them, a call to stop waiting and start doing, no matter who you are, where you're standing, or what's in your pockets. I've had my share of days when the world felt like it was closing in, when I wondered if I had enough to keep my head above water. But every time those words have pulled me back, reminded me that I don't need a mountain of gold or a perfect plan, just what's in my hands right where I am. And I've seen it work, not just for me, but for folks from every walk of life. And I'm burning to share that with you, because wherever you are, whatever you've got, it's enough. Trust me, it's always enough. I think back to when I was a kid, maybe 10 or 11, growing up in a little brick house on a street where the sidewalks cracked and the street lights flickered. I wasn't much to look at, skinny as a rail, too shy to raise my voice above a whisper. But one Christmas, my uncle handed me a beat-up guitar, strings rusted, wood chipped, a hand-me-down he'd found in his attic. I didn't have lessons, didn't have a clue how to play, didn't even have the nerve to strum it where anyone could hear. But I had that guitar, those 6 stubborn strings, and a corner of my bedroom where the afternoon sun slipped through a dusty blind. So I'd sit there, cross-legged on the floor, fumbling through chords till my fingertips stung, picking out tunes I'd heard on the radio, humming under my breath when I couldn't get it right. It wasn't pretty, wasn't polished, but it was something, and where I was, that cramped little room with the peeling wallpaper, was all I needed to start. Years later, I'd find myself strumming on stages, first in smoky bars where the crowd barely clapped, then in halls where they sang along. But it all traced back to that corner, that guitar, that kid who did what he could with what he had, where he was. And that's what I want you to grab hold of today. Look around you right now. What's in your reach? A pencil, a pot, a half-formed hope. That's your guitar, your spark. Don't wait for the spotlight or the big break. Do what you can with what you have, where you are. I've seen it turn lives around, like my friend Maria, a single mom I met years back when I was scraping by myself. She was in a trailer park, 3 kids climbing over her like monkeys, 2 jobs barely keeping the lights on. She didn't have time to breathe, didn't have money to spare, didn't have any grand setup, but she had a gift for baking and an old oven that rattled but ran. So she started right there in that shoebox kitchen, mixing dough with whatever sugar and flour she could scrounge, shaping cookies while the kids napped or tugged at her apron. First, it was just for them, a little treat to brighten their day. But then she shared some with neighbors, swapped a batch for a gallon of milk, set up a card table at the market. Now she's got a bakery downtown, a line out the door on weekends. But it didn't start with a storefront or a loan. It started with Maria doing what she could with what she had, where she was. That's the kind of grit that moves the needle, that builds something out of nothing. And I've felt it in my own skin too. There was a stretch in my early 20s when life threw me a curveball. I'd landed a job I thought was my golden ticket, a foot in the door to something big, but 6 months in, they cut me loose, downsized without a second thought. I was gutted, back in my buddy's basement, sleeping on a lumpy couch, staring at a stack of bills and a guitar I hadn't touched since the good days. I could have wallowed, could have waited for the next big thing to fall in my lap, but I had a voice, a handful of rough songs, and that musty little space. So I dusted off the strings, started busking on street corners, playing for nickels and nods. It wasn't much, wasn't steady, but it was a start. And from there, I clawed my way up, gig by gig, till I was standing on stages I'd only seen in my head. Where you are might feel like a basement right now, a dead-end shift, a lonely stretch, a body that's betraying you, but it's your turf, and what you have, however humble, is your seed. Plant it. I've watched this play out in 100 ways, like my old neighbor, Mr. Jenkins, a retired mechanic with hands that shook from years of hard work and a backyard overrun with weeds. He didn't have his youth anymore, didn't have a fat wallet, but he had a rusty toolbox and that patch of dirt, so he got to work, fixing up lawnmowers for folks on the block, yanking out weeds to plant tomatoes and sunflowers. By summer's end, he was the neighborhood hub, trading veggies for stories, tinkering for smiles, all because he did what he could with what he had, where he was. It's not about waiting for the jackpot. It's about squeezing every ounce from what's yours. I've had my dark valleys. When my dad got sick, it hit me like a freight train, days blurring into hospital visits and sleepless nights. I didn't have a fix, didn't have a miracle, but I had memories. Stories of him teaching me to cast a line, to laugh at myself, to keep swinging. So I sat by his bedside, spinning those yarns, jotting them down in a notebook between shifts at a diner job I'd picked up. It kept us tethered, kept me from drowning, and after he passed, those pages turned into a book that's reached more hearts than I ever dreamed. All from a plastic chair, a cheap pen, and a heart that refused to quit. Do what you can. It's a lifeline, a bridge from despair to daylight. Think of the folks who've shaped you. Your grandma with her patched-together quilts, your coach with his whistle and a clipboard, your best friend with her knack for listening. They didn't have the world, but they gave what they had, right where they were, and it stuck with you. There's a kid I met once, Jamal, barely 12, living in a part of town where sirens were the lullaby. He didn't have safety, didn't have a trust fund, but he had a basketball in a cracked court 2 blocks over. So he dribbled, dawn to dusk, till his sneakers frayed. Last I heard, he's tearing it up on a college team, chasing a scholarship. All because he started with what he had, where he was. You've got your court too. A quiet stoop, a noisy shop, a restless soul. Play on it. Life's too fleeting to sit it out, too vast to waste pining. I've been knocked flat more times than I can tally. Lost jobs, lost loves, lost my footing on paths I swore I'd master. But every time I've found something to clutch. A paintbrush when my music stalled, a shovel when my spirit needed earth, a prayer when my voice failed, and I've used it, right where I stood. Once, after a breakup that carved me hollow, I was holed up in a rented room, just a mattress and a window facing a sprawl of rooftops. I didn't have calm, didn't have a roadmap, but I had that view, a skyline under stars. So I started sketching it, night after night, till those lines became a gallery show. Small steps, yes, but they carried me out. Your window's there. Maybe it's a child's giggle, a sparrow's chirp, a chance to lend a hand, peer through it, do what you can. I've seen it in the wildest corners. My cousin Lila, a nurse in a backwoods clinic, didn't have high-tech gear or a big crew, just bandages and a steady touch. So she stitched up farmers, eased fevers, held hands in the dark, right there in that underfunded shack. Patients called her a saint, and she was. Not for miracles, but for using what she had. Where you are might be a shack, a desk, a classroom, a sick room, but it's your post, and what you have is your arsenal. Wield it. I've carried this mantra through every chapter. When I taught myself to cook after moving out, I had a hot plate, a bent pan, and a corner store. So I fried eggs, charred a few, got the hang of it, fed myself and pals from that shoestring setup. It wasn't gourmet, but it was fuel. When I volunteered at a shelter, I didn't have cash to donate, but I had time and ears. So I listened, hauled crates, made folks feel human. Wherever I've landed, I've found something, a grin, a gift, a stubborn streak, and run with it. Think of our shared past. People with nothing but grit, forging trails, raising barns, singing through storms. They didn't wait for abundance. They worked with scraps. And you're woven from that thread. Your scraps are treasure if you use them. I've had days of doubt, moments I've stared at my palms and thought, this can't be it. Like when I tried a podcast, just me, a shaky mic and a closet for a booth. I didn't have polish, didn't have an audience, but I had a tale and a spot to tell it. So I spoke week after week till listeners trickled in, and now it's a little tribe, all from a closet. Your closet's calling. Maybe it's a diary, a phone, a hammer. Crack it open. Do what you can. And it's not just for you. When I play now, it's for the crowd, the kid who might grab her own guitar. When Maria bakes, it's for her town. When Jenkins gardens, it's for his block. You're doing ripples. There's a woman I know, Sarah, who went blind, didn't have sight, but she had a voice and a living room. So she started a book club, reading aloud with what she had, where she was. Now it's a lifeline for a dozen souls. Your ripples waiting. Maybe it's a meal shared, a kind word, a stand taken. Start it. My granddad was a janitor, never had much, just a mop and a whistle. He'd sweep school halls, humming tunes that bounced off the walls. Kids adored it, teachers too, and when he passed, hundreds came, saying his cheer kept them afloat. He didn't have rank, didn't have riches, but he had that whistle, that hallway, and he did what he could. You've got your whistle, blow it. I've stumbled plenty, songs that tanked, plans that fizzled, but each time I've grabbed what's left, a lesson, a laugh, a next shot, and kept going. Once I tried fixing an old bike to ride again. Didn't have tools, just a wrench and a shaky video. So I tinkered right there in my driveway, till it rolled, wobbly, but rolling. Your bike's there, a stalled hope, a shaky start. Fix it. Where you are might feel like nowhere, a waiting room, a rut, a rainy day, but it's somewhere, and what you have, a breath, a beat, a beginning, is everything. Do what you can. I've lived it, from a boy with a guitar to a man still strumming, and I'm telling you, it's the way, raw, real, relentless. So stand up, you glorious soul. Look at your hands, your spot, your spark, and do what you can with what you have, where you are. The world's waiting and it's yours to shape. I've kept pushing this truth seen it in every face I've met. Like my buddy Tom, a factory worker who lost his arm in a machine. He didn't have two hands anymore, but he had one, a head for numbers and a workbench. So he taught himself to draft with that one hand, sketching plans for machines safer than the one that took his arm. Now he's a designer, all from a kitchen table. Your table's there. Set it. Then there's my Aunt Rose, a widow at 50, no career, just a sewing machine and a pile of old clothes. She didn't have a shop, didn't have training, but she had needles and thread. So she patched, stitched, made quilts, sold them at church fairs till she had a little business. Your needle's there, thread it. I've tasted it in my own failures. When a record deal fell through, I didn't have a label, but I had a laptop and a tune. So I recorded in my apartment, uploaded it myself, built a following from scratch. Your laptop's there. Boot it once. Stranded on a road trip with a flat tire. I didn't have a jack, but I had a rock and a spare. So I wedged, lifted, swapped it out, got rolling again. Your rock's there. Lift it. I've seen it in kids. Little Mia, 8, with leukemia, didn't have health, but she had crayons and a hospital tray. So she drew picture after picture, till the ward was a gallery of color. Her folks say it kept her fighting. Your crayons are there. Draw. Then there's Old Man Pete, a fisherman past his prime. No boat anymore, just a rod and a pier. So he cast day after day, taught kids to fish, fed his soul and theirs. Your pier's there. Cast. I've felt it in quiet moments when I couldn't sleep, wrestling demons. I didn't have answers, but I had a porch and a sky. So I sat, watched the stars, found peace enough to face the dawn. Your porch is there. Sit. I've seen it in chaos. My sister Jen, after a flood took her home, didn't have much, just a bucket and a will. So she bailed, cleaned, rebuilt, right there in the muck. Your bucket's there. Bail. I've lived it in joy. When I married, we didn't have a big budget, just a park and some friends. So we vowed, danced, laughed under oaks. Your park's there. Dance. It's in the small. My nephew Tim, no college, just a mower and a lawn. So he cut, saved, grew a landscaping gig. Your mower's there. Cut. It's in the big. When I rallied a crew for a charity build, we didn't have pros, just hammers and heart. So we nailed, sweated, raised a house. Your hammer's there. Nail. It's in the broken. When my leg gave out after a fall, I didn't have speed, but I had a cane and a path. So I walked, slow but sure, till I was strong. Your cane's there. Walk. It's in the hole. When I mentored a teen, I didn't have expertise, just time and a coffee shop. So I met, talked, watched him bloom. Your coffee's there. Pour. I've seen it everywhere. My mailman Joe, no raise in years, just a root and a wave. So he smiled, chatted, knit a neighborhood. Your root's there. Wave. It's in you, right now. Where you are might be a cubicle, a cribside, a crossroads. What you have might be a whisper, a wish, a wrench, but it's yours. Do what you can. I've failed, soared, stumbled, stood, and every time this truth's held. When I lost my voice to laryngitis mid-tour, I didn't have sound, but I had a pad and a pen. So I wrote, signed, connected till it healed. Your pad's there, right. When I burned out, I didn't have energy, but I had a trail and boots. So I hiked step by step till I breathed again. Your trail's there. Hike. It's not about having it all. It's about giving your all. I've watched a painter with no canvas use walls, a cook with no stove use a fire, A dreamer with no map used a star. They did what they could with what they had, where they were, and you can too. So rise. You radiant soul, see your hands, your place, your power, and do what you can with what you have, where you are. It's your story, your stage, your shot. Take it. The world's watching, and it's yours to light.